Right, from whichever time zone you guys are tuning in from. This is one of the conversations I wanted to have with a lot of you. I see a lot of questions which come up around specialization. How do you choose a particular role for yourself? How do you choose a particular company or industry for yourself? And how do you switch your career paths if you are coming from a non data science background or a non IT background into the space of data science? So, in today's conversation, I'm going to be covering all those topics along with an important piece of building your own brand. So, that's another thing that I often get questions on how important it is to build your brand and what does it really mean to build your brand. So, yeah, I will be covering all those topics. So, if you guys can just put in which city, which country are you tuning in from, that'll be awesome. And yeah, I'll try to see where all people are tuning in from. Awesome. So while people are doing that, uh, and I'm answering your questions, please feel free to put in more questions on the chat. So the questions that I've curated so far is from what I've received in the comments when I posted about this live session. So please feel free to put in extra questions if you have any in the chat, and I will be answering those. Awesome. So let me start with one of the first questions. It's choosing your niche and like choosing which role you should be following as part of your career. So let me break this down. Data science is not really stitched to IT, or it's not really stitched to computer science. It's not stitched to technology. That's what we had seen in the past, but that is not the situation right now. Every company is using digitized methodologies. Every company uh, using having customers or a B2B company is using data in some sort, be it retail, be it e-commerce, be it like company involved with supply chain, be it finance. Each and every company is using data science to some extent or the other. So the notion that we had that data science has something to do with computer science or with technology is not really the case right now. So one of the points I would like to make is that if you're interested in data science, you need to understand what niche are you interested in. By niche, I mean you're interested in say aerospace engineering, and like in the space of aeronautics, and you're trying to see how data can be used to improve any business challenges in that space. Or if you're interested in supply chain management, or if you're interested in robotics, etc. So you need to understand what is the niche that you're interested in. And once you have that drilled down, for me it was probably working with cloud solutions for AI. So once you have that drilled down, the next thing is your skill set. And that is what is going to choose a role for you in that career. So the second part where I talk about skill set is where you need to understand what is your background in, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what is that you want to do in a day to day job, what is that you want to do every single day as part of your job. And that requires, of course, requires you to have certain kinds of skill sets. So typical data scientist role in most organizations require you to build models, right? And that require you to have a deep understanding of fundamentals of linear algebra, about statistics, probability, about machine learning modeling, etc. Some roles require you to build these models, in the sense that you have to be from a machine learning engineering background and you have to be building these models. The others could be more research focused, so where you are only involved in mathematical side of things. So that's the two kinds of data scientist roles that you see. Whereas if you are from a software engineering background and trying to transition, that would more suit for a machine learning engineering role, because they are involved more in machine learning operations, how to integrate the models that are built by data scientists into a workflow. Now, let's say that you are not from a technology background, right? Let's say you have not done coding, you are not from a technology background. Then what? How do you contribute in the field of data science? That's where you utilize your subject matter expertise. So if you are I think one of the questions that I had in the comments was that this particular woman, she was from a healthcare sector. She said that she is a mid-level person in a healthcare sector, and she wants to transition, and she doesn't have any background in IT. So, in this case, you act as a subject matter expert. You might not be building hands on models, but in a team of people who are building hands on models, you will be consulted to understand the data better, to understand if there is any anomaly in the data, to understand how the data pattern could change, or what are the reasons for certain patterns to be seen in that data. So, your expertise in the field is definitely required for the understanding of data, and that is a very, very crucial piece. Secondly, your your expertise is also required when it comes to operationalizing these models. So once the models are built, you need to understand which business unit or like which verticals will be using the models. If there is any issue that could arise with the way the model is acting, you would be consulted on the features the model is capturing and if it makes sense or it doesn't, if there are any biases in the data, if there could be any changes that could happen to the way the data is being collected, and would that indirectly affect the model that we are building. So again, these are like more of like a subject matter expertise role where you're on an advisory side, and you are working more on the data understanding, right? So that is definitely a very, very important and crucial role. So if you are planning to transition from say a mid-level from a different company, from a different industry into data science, uh, you don't really have to switch companies, because your company itself, or like healthcare finance, would also be doing data science. So if you are interested to switch jobs from a different role to a data science specific role, then something like this would be really helpful. Okay. So I mentioned, I'm just going to give a quick recap. So I mentioned for you to choose a particular role or to choose a particular career path, you need to understand two things. One is your niche, which industry, which kind of businesses or which kind of use cases are you going to deal with. Second is your skill set, technical, non-technical, coding, non-coding, research, non-research. What are you trying to do here? So once you have answers to these two, you will be easily able to figure out roles for yourself in any organization. So okay, awesome. Let me go to the next question. So one of the other questions I often get is research versus industry, right? People ask me, hey, should I be following research, should I go for a PhD, or should I be following industry related opportunities? So that is a very subjective answer. So I would just want to share my experience, and if that really helps you in a way, so you can answer it for yourself, that'll be the best. So my experience when I was in my undergrad, I was very interested in research. So I was very closely working on reading like research papers, trying to understand what's new in the field, because for me, not having an access to that was pinching me. So my curriculum was not focusing on latest research, my curriculum was not focusing on machine learning. So that was one of my ways of learning these things. So I started digging deeper into like research papers, and those sort of like started giving me a perspective on like what's important right now, what are we trying to optimize, what are we trying to achieve, and what are these models that people are talking about. And in a way, I could implement the things, the models that were mentioned in the research paper, and that gave me a hands-on experience on using Python or R in different cases. So at that point, I was really, really interested in research. And when I completed my undergrad, I was in two minds if I should be going for a PhD or for a master's, because I wasn't exactly sure on what I wanted to do in terms of like exact role per se. So masters would probably get me more involved in an industry based role, versus research will take a longer time and would probably give me a research side of role. So one of the things that I understood was through the internships that I did when I was in undergrad, I really enjoyed that. So one of my motivations was to see my models in production, see my models to work, and see that in a shorter duration or like a shorter time span. And somewhere I knew if I was getting into research, it'll not just require me more time commitment. That is, after 4 years of undergrad, I would have to probably put 5 6 more years into PhD. But it would also mean that there would be, there would not be like, faster faster solutions that are produced. Research takes time, right? So I thought of pursuing my masters, and during that term, I thought that I would figure out if I want to continue that as a PhD or not. So while I was in my masters, I realized that for me, as my personality is, or things that's interesting to me, or what really motivates me, I felt masters was more of a good option, or working in industry was more of a good option for me. Again, this is a very subjective answer for myself because of my interests, my personality, the way I find gratitude in work. So I'm not discouraging anybody from pursuing PhD. It's definitely a great option for people who are interested in doing that, but it wasn't for me. So that's just my experience. And what I'm trying to say here is you need to understand that if you are planning to pursue research or not, PhD or not, then you need to understand the pros and cons of both, right? Like you need to understand what gives you joy. Research is definitely something which is of interest for people who want to get engaged in a deeper sense of work, where they are, where they are invested in that work for a longer period of time. There is not going to be any solution developed in like 2 weeks, 2 months, no. So that's why you need to understand what gives you satisfaction, what kind of work are you interested in. So for me, it was more inclined towards programmatic things, because I was coming from a computer science background. I was always interested in algorithms and design, so that sort of was of more interest to me. And yeah, I felt like, I should be focusing more on my strengths, which was programming, and which was coming from a software engineering background. So I felt I should be using that, and that sort of helped me pave my way in a different manner than other people would. So yeah, that's just my journey. And I want you to evaluate this for yourself, that what gives you joy, what makes sense for you, what gives you that motivation to keep on doing those things over and over again, and then make an informed decision. Awesome. um Let me just go through some of the comments that you guys have put on the chat. Okay, interesting. So Shantanu has a question that how can we explore or get into the data science and digital marketing as a career? Or how do you leverage data science in digital marketing? So Shantanu, that's a really good question, and I'm sure lot of others might be having the same question as you. So digital marketing again is a very, very, very huge field which uses data science. So companies like Google, companies like Facebook, a lot of other companies are also using advertisements as one of their greatest revenue sources. So digital marketing of course uses data science. So marketing means uh, giving recommendations of products to the right customers. That's where data science fits in. You need to understand what are the kinds of audiences that comes to your platform, what are the products that you're offering, who might be interested in that offering, where you will find these people. So a lot of marketing is happening on Instagram, TikTok, and like a lot of these social media applications. So because people know that that's where they are going to find the audience that they're looking for their product. So yes, of course, digital marketing takes a lot of data science into account. And that's where I keep saying that, people who have experience in marketing, people who have experience in say like, a brand building, are required in data science applications. So I just wanted to like share one of my colleagues who was working with me in PyTorch Lightning earlier, and he was head of marketing, and now he's working in H2O, and he's the head of marketing there as well. So he's been working really closely um with technology, data science focused, AI focused companies, and he's experienced in marketing. That's what his expertise is in. And it's really important for even AI companies, or um other technology invested companies, to understand who their audience is and how do they market the right things to them, how do they make the business stakeholders understand what they're trying to sell, etc. So that skill is definitely very important. And if you are from a marketing background, there is a lot of scope, a lot of roles available for you in a data science, in the space of data science. Okay. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to take up this other question which is coming on the chat about masters, or like about um, doing a certification program versus a degree. So one of the things I would like to clarify is you should only do a degree if you are interested in something. Uh, I see a lot of people, like have this thinking that getting a certificate is going to get them a job, so they just like blindly go behind collecting more certificates. I do not feel that's the right way to do. So the reason I did my masters was to learn from the professors who were at Columbia, to go through the curriculum in more of an academic fashion rather than a self-paced fashion, to really feel that burn, to really feel the burn of doing a postgraduate program, and to engage with the activities that and the opportunities that Columbia was providing me with. So that was the reason for me to do my masters. If your reason to do masters is just upskilling, then you do not need to do a masters. If finances is something that's stopping you from doing your masters and upskilling, that should not be the case. If the mere goal is to learn more, then there is enough availability of resources which is online. There are a lot of Coursera courses even for which you don't have to pay, so you can just audit through if you're not really interested in the certificate. So there is enough resources which is available. So and yeah, I do not believe any company has this strict policy of requirement of having a master's for any specific role. So yeah, skill set is what matters the most. Companies do write this as part of their job description that, hey, we would like you to have a master's or a PhD, but that's not a strict condition. So I have seen people getting into the roles which are specified to be PhD ones, but they have gotten into the role even with a bachelor's degree. So what's more important is for you to showcase your skills and your abilities through projects, through proven projects in your resume, and that's what is going to get you through the gate. So focus on your developing your skill set, focus on doing projects, right? That's what I keep telling people, that focus on doing projects, focus on doing internships, or your own projects, or through any kind of capstone or anything that's going to help you utilize your skills, and that's going to be an asset that stays with you. So that's something I would recommend, rather than going for certifications just for the sake of it. Awesome. Let me go on to the next question. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to the next question. So I see that people are asking how to adapt to using new tools and programming languages. So that's a very valid point, right? Like every few years, or few years is also probably a long time that I'm mentioning. Every few weeks we see technology changing. We have new packages coming out in Python. There are new functions which are incorporated. There are new techniques, there are new new packages which come out, like new open source technologies. So you need to keep upskilling yourself. And that's definitely a thing, that there is no, there is no saturation point to that. Even if you are a senior person, if even if you have like 10 years of experience, even if you have 15 years of experience, you still need to keep upskilling. You need to still understand what's the new tools, what is the capabilities in these new tools. That's when you're going to be able to uh, design a good solution, because you are aware of what's new, you are aware of what's possible versus what was not possible earlier. So one of the things, I again, like, I want to connect this with another question that I got. So I saw that another person had commented asking this, that how do they upskill themselves when they are already in the mid level or like a senior level position. So one of the things I've learned, and like, something I have seen that my mentors do, is doing mentoring. So my mentors who are also like in really really senior positions, they try to keep up with the new technology, with the new tools, by engaging in people in by engaging in mentoring newer students. So students are like early professionals, right? So that sort of keeps them very close to what's happening right now. So when I was in my postgraduate program, and the mentors that I had, they were really senior. They were not really doing hands on programming, or they were not building hands on solutions, but they were very closely involved with the entire stack. And when they would engage with me, when they would speak with me, when they would help me pursue different projects, they would also be aware of what's going on, what's new in the technology field, what's new, what new open source stuff has come up, what newer companies are working on, etc. So that is one of the ways that people can, like, choose to upskill. If you are in a senior position, you can choose to be a mentor for early professionals or for students, and their learning will be your learning. So yeah, that's what I wanted to mention. So let me get on to the next part of, brand building. So when we speak about building your brand, it's nothing related to, like, starting your own company, or launching something of your own, or like, doing something which is commercial. Building your own brand is identifying your USP and using the USP as your strengths. So, um, one of the things I generally recommend people is that uh, there is a very unique factor about each of us, and that is what we should be leveraging to differentiate us from everybody else. Because otherwise we'll just be a crowd, a bunch of people doing the same thing and being average at the things that we are doing. So if you want to differentiate yourself, like, if you want to stand out, if you want to be identified as you, and identified for the uniqueness and for the unique things that you're bringing onto the table, then you need to identify your USP, and you need to build your brand. So one of the things, I think, like, I was speaking to one of my friends, and they mentioned that, hey Aishwarya, do you mean that, everybody has to be active on social media, or everybody has to be using LinkedIn as much as you do, or everybody has to, say, like, deliver conference talks, etc.? Absolutely not. Like, building your brand does not mean, putting yourself out on social media. Building your brand means, how do you strengthen your USP? How do you, if you are a good public speaker, then yes, go present more in conferences. If you are really good at, like, um, if you're really good at, say, um, formalizing things, or like, writing something in a more curated manner, then it is a good thing for you to, write blogs or white papers, or collaborate with publishing offices to develop writing pieces for yourself. So that's just one of the ways that you can build your brand. So you are identified uniquely based on that skill set, right? So depending on what's your strengths, it could be public speaking, it could be writing something, it could be just being awesome at coding, so you can be a grandmaster on Kaggle, or you can or you can, also get involved in like research projects. You can, if you're really interested in building solutions, say for AI for social good, then you can get in touch with certain foundations or organizations, and then you can collaborate with them on building these solutions for social good. So these are just examples that I'm throwing out. You have to figure out what's unique about you. You have to focus on your strengths and focus on improving your strengths. So that's what going to set you apart, and that is what means by building a brand, about strengthening your USPs. Again, I'm repeating myself that, building a brand means strengthening your USPs and doing things that will strengthen your USP. It's not about being a social media personality. That's not what it means. So even at your workplace, if there is something really unique about you, let's say you are really good at thought leadership, if you are good at identifying gaps and loopholes, and setting up initiatives on how to improve that, that's your USP. Thought leadership is your USP. Work on that. Collaborate with teams outside of your team, with other teams in your organization, and see what could be, how you can improve the existing pipeline of different things, and how you can contribute in that domain. Awesome. Hmm. Okay, so I see a question from Parvati. She's asking, how do you know if a data science role is more fit for someone rather than a software development role? So here's the thing: software development, very different skills; data science, very different skills. So data science as a field has software development as part of it, but I'm talking about like data scientist role that's available in most organizations. Data scientist role requires you to know how to engineer data, to know how to uh, derive insights from data, to know those techniques on how to, extract that information out of data, then to know what kind of model will be useful for a particular use case, then to build that model, and then productionalize it. So software engineering versus data science is different skill sets. So Parvati, I would really recommend you that go through. So if you're interested in healthcare, finance, technology, uh, retail, e-commerce, whatever, like whatever field you're interested in, just pull out a job description of a data scientist versus a software development role in that organization, and see for yourself what the difference is. So the technology stack is different for both the roles, and yeah, the job requirement, um, the skill sets that we're talking about is very different. So software development more focuses on developing front end, back end, integrating pieces into a major solution or a major application. But data science focuses on something completely different. That's more about modeling, forecasting, optimization, etc. So yeah, very very different skill sets. So let me go through some more questions. What platform you suggest for mentorship? So I am running one. It's called Illuminate AI, and we do a cohort based learning where we have smaller cohorts of mentors and mentees who are coming on board. So the next cohort will be starting in a month, and the applications will be out in a month. So that's just like one platform that I'm talking about, Illuminate AI. But there are similar platforms out there. There are a lot of services which offer you that mentorship. The other way to get mentorship, and one of the ways which worked for me, is to look around yourself. So I got mentors like who were my professors, who were seniors in my company, people with whom I connected on LinkedIn, and I felt that we could contribute to each other's growth. That's how I found my mentors. So yeah, just giving out some ideas there. So I think Kunal asks a question that how effective is portfolio building in data driven profiles from a recruitment perspective? So again, one of the things I would mention, and I'm specifically saying this because I have like reviewed resumes, and I see people writing about certifications that, hey, I'm XYZ certified, until and unless it's a company given, like certification, something like a Google cloud architect or like Google machine learning engineering. That's a different thing. But if you're going to be mentioning about random certifications which you have found on Coursera or like any other platform, that's not really something that recruiters are going to be really interested in, because major certifications like, cloud architect or like Google machine learning engineers, these are certifications which are very intensive, extremely intensive, and they have rigorous examination that you have to go through. So they really test your abilities. But if you're going through some, like some shorter certifications which doesn't have any rigorous process or examinations, that's not really worth for you to put that on your resume. One thing I would mention, that what you should be focusing on your resume is the projects that you've done. So if you are still in school, if you are still, still studying, projects that you can do is collect open source data, pick a problem, and build a solution, host it on GitHub, see what results you have got, see do some kind of like competitive analysis on, like what are the existing solutions for that particular problem, and how does your solution differ. So evaluate like what's the value add in your solution. These are some of the projects that you can mention, and that's what recruiters are going to care about. Just mentioning certifications is not really going to help. It's important that you showcase how you have used your skill sets. Instead of writing that, you're proficient in R, C, C++, Python, and just, putting down a bunch of libraries out there is not going to help. What helps is proving that you've used these technologies in solutions, and to mention about and talk about what was your approach to solve these problems. So projects is definitely the major item that should go on your resume, and that's what you should be focusing on if if you're trying to prove, like that you are skilled in that for that particular role. um how important is portfolio building in the master's application? So one of the things, as I mentioned, right, like even universities, they want to see how curious you are as a person, how much you have tried. So it doesn't matter if, if you have built a solution which is not really being used in a full-fledged manner, but that effort of you trying to build something, trying to think something which is out of the box, is what they are is what they are looking for. And whenever you're like writing your statement of purpose for, applying for higher studies, make sure that you are giving out your curious side, giving out that you are ready to try and fail and yet try again. And portfolio building is definitely really important, because if you are somebody who's applying for their higher education right after their undergrad and do not have work experience, portfolio is definitely going to save you there, because they want to see what have you achieved, what have you accomplished, what are the solutions that you've created, and how is it really creating an impact. So yeah, that's definitely something I feel is important, and something that I did as well. So I did my masters right out of my undergrad. So the projects that I did through my undergrad, the internships that I did, uh, was something which was, like strengths for my statement of purpose. So yeah, I would definitely agree to that. Okay. What major subjects and skill sets one should focus on if they are planning for a postgrad degree in the field of AI/ML? Major subjects is something you got to decide, Siddhant. And one of my favorite things about US education, or what I have realized, is that the flexibility to choose subjects which you like. So I have had friends in masters who had taken subjects which was in economics, which was in social science, which was in public speaking, um, which was in wine tasting. So yeah, I mean, your major subjects should be your choices and things which you are interested in. So people who have done data science in masters in data science have taken up subjects, as I mentioned, in economics, right? If you're interested in economics, if you're interested in the concepts, if you want to learn more and see how you can apply your data science skills in that field, yes, definitely go ahead and take that, right? So subjects is something you should never ask anybody else to choose for you. And yeah, I definitely want to point this out. Do not ask others to choose majors for you. Do not ask others to, do not ask this question to others that, hey, what is a good majors for me? What is it, what career path should I follow? That's not something which others are supposed to be deciding for you, because nobody knows you better than yourself. So do not like go with answers that people are giving you, and do not make your life decisions on what others are telling you to do. So listen to all the advices and then decide for yourself what makes sense. So yeah, that's what I would recommend, that do not ask anybody else on what subjects are good for you. You decide for yourself what subjects are good for you, depending on your skills, depending on what is of your interest, and something that you feel is a value add in your life. It might need not be even in data science. It could be something which is absolutely out, let's say in journalism, and you're just like interested to explore that. So yeah. um Okay, so I want to like take up this question which Mike is presenting. So, how important is understanding the business you want to apply for? So, do you decide to work with a business? Do you decide to work with the business you want to do now, or go for a business that will stretch your skills and opportunities? So two things here, Mike. That's a really good question, right? Like, when do you stay in your comfort zone versus when do you go out of your comfort zone? So the way I do it is, if I'm interested in a particular space, for example, it was finance for me. I was really interested in finance, and I started taking up more and more projects in finance. And I am still interested in that field, and I'm still taking up projects in that field. But finance has become more of a comfort zone for me. So I'm very comfortable in taking up data sets from a financial institute, or from that field. And I feel I have a better understanding on the data. So at this point, I feel like exploring something different. So that's when I'm picking up projects which is from a different domain, where I don't have very good understanding, but there is still that space for me to learn. And that's how I sort of like keep my brain alive, and like try different things. So yeah, that's just the way that people like to, like pursue their career, where you have to keep that balance between doing things which is in your comfort zone, which you are really experienced in, versus having that good 20% balance. So I think that's a good way to put it. So you have a 20% balance where you're experimenting for that 20% of the time, where you're exploring things which is outside of your comfort zone. So you're constantly challenging yourself, and you're also exploring something which you never felt was like was something you could do. So yeah, that would be my answer for that. um how to choose an industry. I love healthcare. So this is something Bhavya is writing. So he says, how to choose an industry. I love healthcare, retail, and education, and I'm not able to find a blend. What should one do in such a case? So Bhavya, I'm not sure like what stage are you in right now. I'm not sure if you're a student or an early professional, but my answer would still be the same. So if you are like not sure on what industry to choose, experiment. So if you mentioned three industries, right? Healthcare, retail, and education. So you can pick up some projects, open source projects, collaborate with say a non-profit organization, find some opportunity within your organization if you're working, or pick up internships. So the only way you can be sure that you like something or you don't like something is to try it out. And yeah, that's what I would suggest. Like, pick up projects from all the three fields, see what interests you the most. And one of the things that I really enjoy doing is, recently I got a book which was talking about enterprise AI, which talks about how AI is being used in different enterprises. And the focus of the book is not on AI as much as it is on business use cases in different industries. So that sort of gave me a good perspective on like what are the different pieces of the puzzle that fit together in retail industry versus like supply chain. What are the challenges? What are the personas who are involved? What's the return on investment that these business units are looking at, etc. So yeah, you should dig deeper into like the challenges that healthcare is facing, the challenges that retail is facing, the challenges that education field is facing, and then see if you are interested in developing a solution for any of these fields. So yeah, experiment is something that I would recommend you to do, Bhavya. Okay, awesome. So let me go on to some more questions. um Okay, so I actually saw this question on the chat that at what point do you onboard others to assist with your brand, or do you prefer to do it all independently? So, very interesting question. And one of the things I would like to mention, right? When I say your brand, again, I'm talking about your USP, your uniqueness, your strengths, which makes you stand out in the crowd. That is something that you have to figure out. Like, nobody else should be telling you what your uniqueness is. You have to figure out what your uniqueness is, and what your strengths is, what you're comfortable with, right? At what point do you onboard others to assist? So for that part of the question, you need to see, what's the value of time that you're putting into each of the activity which comes through the process. For example, um, let's say I am somebody who's very interested in giving out talks, in applying for conferences, and like submitting research or submitting my presentation for conference sessions. What should I be doing versus what is something that I can onboard others to assist me on? What should I be doing? Preparing the material which I want to present. What I can get help on is somebody who can help me uh, get to know the conferences which are going to happen in the near future. So things which can be outsourced, or things which can does not really need your expertise. That's definitely something you can outsource. So in this case, you can probably hire somebody, or like take a service which helps you filter through the conferences which might be of your interest, and you can focus on creating the content for that. Similarly, if you're somebody who's like interested in writing blogs, then you definitely can collaborate with people who are into like tech journalism, and they can help you like review your content. They can help you structure it in a good way, and you can only focus on the essence of the content. So that's definitely a blend of two, like having others to assist you versus like preferring to do things on your own. Similarly, if you're interested in like creating video blogs, you can create the content yourself. You can script it yourself. Do not ever let anybody else script for you. So you can script content for yourself. You can create that video for yourself, but you can leave the editing and like publishing and marketing to others. So you can onboard people who can do that for you. So yeah, that's what you can do. Now, okay, so let me go on to another question. So I think I had a question on like who are influencers or the content creators that I typically like to follow. So I actually follow a lot of people, so I'm just thinking who would be the top three people I can mention. So yeah, let me see. So yeah, there's a lot of people I follow. Like so one of the my favorite person is definitely like Andrew Ang. The content that he has been sharing, the efforts that he has created in the field is phenomenal. Like, he has sort of like formalized a lot of things which was still a theory for a lot of people. So he has actually pushed towards using machine learning or using AI in day-to-day applications. And one of the major causes I would see why industries have started adopting AI. So just making citizen data scientists, just making people who can understand it and not think as if it's rocket science. So Andrew Yang is definitely one person I can think of. And followed by that, I mean, like, um, let me just yeah, look for more people. So there are definitely a lot of people who create a lot of good content. Again, like, I'm speaking based on things which is of my interest. So I feel like I feel uh, Shanta Mohan is also like somebody whom I'm following. So the book that I mentioned earlier is something that she had written, and she had written the chapter of AI in retail, and she's focused a lot on, like, how retail functions. So yeah, she's another person I typically follow. And then Andrei Berkov is another person I follow, and I really admire their work. And yeah, those are the people I think on top of my head. I think I one of my friends, Nick, is also somebody I follow. So he had created this book on acing data science interviews. So he has created a asset which will help people who are preparing in the field of data science. So similar to like cracking a coding interview, he has created another book for data scientists, and something which where he covers the foundational aspects as well. So he's covered probability, statistics, and there's like parts of linear algebra. There is case studies. There is software engineering, problem solving for data science, etc. So yeah, that's another thing I would say. Yeah. But overall, like, if you were to talk about, just thought leaders in the space, I definitely follow a lot of thought leaders, who are, entrepreneurs, or who are doing open source technology building. So that's some of the others I follow on in the field. So yeah, let me see if there are any other questions. How much time do I usually spend on social media? So I like LinkedIn is probably the only social media I use the most. And yeah, I spend typically about an hour to 2 hours on LinkedIn every day, like trying to create content. Again, this is just an average. There are some days when I spend more time, some days where I don't even open it. So yeah, just an average. Bruno Aziza, definitely, like Bruno Aziza is another person I follow, and he is really really good at creating the content that he is. So he also has this YouTube channel where he does the data journeys, and he covers a lot of topics. So yeah, that's another person I follow. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And let me see if there are any more questions. Okay, awesome. So yeah, I think like I'll take one last question. So Harini is asking, what tips helped you explore research opportunities in your undergrad days? So what helped me was to, being open to opportunities and reaching out to people. So I never restricted myself to not reaching out to people. So if something was of my interest and I read a research paper which was very intriguing to me, I would reach out to the authors. I would and another thing is how you reach out, right? So that is something I feel that you should not reach out to people and make them think that you're wasting their time. People should, like, whenever you're reaching out to somebody, make sure that there is a mutual contribution. There's a mutual interest for both of you, right? um, be mindful of their time. Be mindful that when you're writing to them and they're reading it, why should they revert back to you, right? You should be clear on what your intentions are. Say, hey, I was reading your research paper. I'm confused about xyz things. I would like to chat more about ABC, and it would be really helpful because it's part of my project or it's part of my research that I'm doing, and I would like to get your opinion on this or get more clarifications. Be very specific about what your ask is, and be very mindful that, like, everybody is busy in their own work. So what is in it for them, right? So if you're getting some clarifications on things, that might also help them better phrase things in future. So it would also help them refine the content that they are providing. So that's a take for them, right? So yeah, that's another thing. And other things that really helped me explore research opportunities was to collaborate with professors. The professors who were teaching me, the professors who weren't, I sort of started looking at the kind of work or the kind of research that they were doing, and I spoke with them to see if they have any opportunities, if they need any students to collaborate and do some hands-on work for them. So that sort of helped me collaborate with professors as well. Um, yeah. So Kirti is asking me, how do I manage my work and other priorities? So it's just how you make time, right? So there are things which is really really important to me, things which uh, come under high priority items. So things like, of course, my job, things which I'm really passionate about. So the content that I create on LinkedIn, what I do with Illuminate AI, or like, any kind of open source contributions that I make, that these are things which I'm really passionate about. So I just try to figure out time on, like how I can contribute to this. So time management. So I feel it's more than time management, it's about prioritization. So you can only manage your time if you have your priorities right. So I have sort of, prioritized in a way that, hey, these are something which really gives me motivation, and these are something which is part of the parcel. So a lot of times, you have to do things which are just part of the process, and that also takes up your time. So just divide your time in the right way, prioritize things which are important to you, and yeah, things would work out. I am probably not even doing half of the things that, a lot of other people in the world are doing. So there are a lot of entrepreneurs, there are a lot of, really high achieving individuals who probably do 2x the things that I do. So yeah, if they can, I should not be complaining about the time that I have in my hand. So yeah, that's something I wanted to share. Let's see if we have anything else. um how do I find professor contacts on LinkedIn? I mean, connecting with them is the easiest option you can do. So whenever you're connecting with them, please make sure to add a note. Do not send a connection request to people without adding a note. Add a connection. When you're sending a connection request, just add a note on, like what you liked about them, what work inspired you, why would you want to connect with them, and I'm pretty sure they would respond if you are being mindful of, like why you want to connect with them. Um, okay. Okay, I think that's all for today, and we are on top of the hour. So yeah, if there is anything else, I would like to take all your questions on the comments. So I will be keeping an eye on the comment section of this live video once it goes out. So you can view this session, even if once we go off live. So and this session will be available on YouTube for you to see. So I will be keeping an eye on the comment section. So if somebody is watching this later on and if you have questions, please feel free to put that on the comments, and I will be answering your questions. And for anything else, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I will be happy to answer your questions, but please note that, whenever you're sending me a connection request, put a small note on why would you like to connect with me, what is that I can help you with. So that way I can, like, understand what's the value at. So awesome. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye.